And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I know you guys have been waiting. We are about a week and a half out, but we're about to go over episode 7 of Stranger Things season 4, part 1. Effectively, I guess one of Netflix's highest grossing, well received seasons or any shows that they've ever produced. And we're about to go and dissect it. The whole crew is back here. And yes, that is Steve getting his like legit guts like eaten out by these bat creatures. But we're here. Hi everybody. What's going on, Nat? What's going on, Anthony? What's going on, Keaton?
Guts
Anyway, how you guys doing, man?
Better than Steve.
Steve had it rough.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, he doesn't look good. But yeah, you guys. So I guess because we've taken so long with this, we're gonna do this really unconventionally. For you guys, now that you guys had time to kind of like think over what we've seen before from this season, how do you guys feel about this season? Is this like your least favorite? Is this your most favorite? Like, what things can you guys pull out of this part 1? And we'll go and talk into episode 7 as we go.
In terms of writing and the order that they did everything, I think it's one of the best written seasons so far. I just the way they brought all the stories together at the very end and the timing for it all was I just felt like it was impeccable. I honestly think this is definitely the most well written season. I absolutely have been loving it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Nat or Ant?
I'm kind of reserving judgment, but so far, because we still need to see part 2, I'm anticipating it's going to be really good. But so far, I think this is second to season 1 because season 1 just jumped it off. And I think this season definitely follows it. So this is my second favorite season so far. It probably won't change after we see the second half, but for right now.
Okay. No, that's fair. Ant, what about you?
I mean, this is actually the true success of the season 1 to me. Like I'm gonna say season 1 is number 1 because it started this off, but this is the best written season we've had so far. And I'm gonna call it season 4 and next season 5 because I'm tired. Attack on Titans got me with this, and now this got me. You released your season, and then the next thing that comes out is another season. So season 5 is coming out. That's what this is. I think this is the best season we got so far.
Yeah. And I'll add to that. I think that honestly, man, they've elevated everything. I think that they found ways of adding new characters and not making them feel like second tier, like making them feel important, making them feel atmospheric. The CG is far superior than any other season. Like the Demogorgon that your boy Hop was having to deal with. When you go back and look at the first season versus what we see in this, that thing looks menacing in this. It looks.
I'm literally going back through the first season right now, and I completely agree. Like I looked at the Demogorgon in season 1, and I'm like, man, I would have taken that over this new Demogorgon any day of the week because that one looked like Little Shop of Horrors compared to this one.
Right. And so I think one of the things with them being in the pandemic and the budget, what they got, they were able to take time and hone the visual effects, hone the story out, let it process and let it marinate. And I feel like even when I think about, like, I looked at Top Gun Maverick recently and how that was kind of delayed, but they were able to take their time and make some good quality. Even though the pandemic made us wait, like we've been getting some good quality things out of it. And I feel like this show is a great example of that because I didn't think that they still had that much in the tank to the point that now I haven't seen, I know Keaton, you see that. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. There's a small little teaser, which we'll react to together for you guys of part 2. I haven't seen it yet.
I didn't know there was a thing.
I didn't even know there was.
So it's like 30 seconds right at the end of episode 7.
Right.
It's a 30-second teaser for part 2, and I jumped out of bed when I saw it.
Once we get done doing our discussion at the end of it, we're gonna record and we'll just allow it. Let's let it go through the whole entire thing. So once we get done talking, we'll play that and then we'll kind of think about what we think about where things are going to go. But to me, I think this is the best season. I think that each season to me has elevated itself in different ways. Season 3 was kind of like an up in the air whether or not I was like, is it going to make it, is it not? But I do think that they have found some kind of way of even topping that. So yeah, I'm loving this season. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into episode 3. So first thing we see literally is what's going on with Steve. And I was curious from you guys' perspective, the moment that Nancy, Robin, Eddie jumped into the water, did y'all think that they would make it to Steve in time? Or even just that whole scene in and of itself, it was pretty hardcore. Like Steve legit bit a bat to get it off of him. And he would just went ham on it. But how did you guys think that was going to pan out? Like, did you guys see that coming? Did you like the way that they structured the scene? I was curious y'all's perspective on
it. I was like, eat his ass up. Look.
Just hating on Steve.
I'm not hating on Steve, but these kids their plot armor need to go away. I think this is like the best season they've had. This is the first season I've actually cared about. Really, it's season 1. Like season 2 and 3 were kind of forgettable to me, except for Samwise's death. But this season, I'm like, you gotta raise the stakes. One of these kids got to get it, and Steve is perfect teenage age for 80s horror movies to go, just to go and go bloody too. I need him out of here. And I did appreciate the Ozzy Osbourne like bat bite that they gave, but that's what I was thinking the whole thing. I knew they were going to save him, but I was hoping they did.
That's funny.
Plus Team Jonathan.
Nah, I knew. Yeah, I knew. Nah, I knew he was. I knew he was gonna get saved. The moment Nancy jumped in there and was like, "Not my baby," I was like, "Okay, yeah, she gonna get there. She gonna get there to save him in time." And what was so funny to me was when Eddie was left back and he was like, "Man, I can't believe I'm jumping in here." Like,
right.
At the same time, he wasn't about
as he should.
Well, he wasn't about to stay in that boat with those cops out there. He knew.
Oh, snap! Cops! Yeah, man, jumped.
Right. It was no matter what. Yeah, Eddie was like, "I'm willing to go to another world than to deal with the situation I'm in right now. Forget it."
Yeah, that's how they.
Because I feel
we're
like
just stealing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it's like we're just stealing the Steve Nancy thing, right? That's a lock at this point, right?
I don't think so. I think Steve might actually die for real. I think Steve might. I don't think this is the thing. If Steve hadn't have got like bit as bad as he did inside of the Upside Down, every person has been inside the Upside Down that they've been in physical contact with an entity inside the Upside Down. There's something happened. Either one, they haven't made it, or something has happened. And at this point, at the end of the episode, Nancy gets taken over by Vecna. But Steve is there with her in the Upside Down. So it's like, if anything, Steve may sacrifice himself to try to get Nancy out. Now, I don't know how he would do that, but I really do feel like there's going to be a consequence, like you said.
His last moment shouldn't be with Nancy. It should be with Dustin. That's his real soulmate throughout this season.
True.
Well, that's if something happened to Steve, that's going to break Dustin's heart.
But I feel like Dustin's like kind of there looking, so it's not like
he's literally right in the ceiling.
He's right above, so it's not like he's not going to not see it. But I get what you're saying. Like something's got to give because you can't really get rid of Nancy, so to speak. But someone's got to die. We just don't know who at this point.
Right.
Like it has to be really like. They're raising the stakes, but they haven't raised it enough yet. So they need to raise it. Someone needs to die. And as mad as I will be, I will respect it.
Yeah, even though now I'm hurting for Dustin. Like I talked all that smack before, but now I'm like, oh, Dustin.
But I mean, Eddie's kind of like his backup at this point, unless something happens to Eddie too.
I think it'll be Steve, just because Steve's the only one we haven't met his parents.
Have we not?
Right. Oh. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, we haven't met his parents. Everybody's parents. We've seen everybody else's parents. Well, we haven't seen what's her name's parents.
Who's Robin's?
Yeah, we haven't seen Robin's parents, but I mean, Robin just got here. I think she's safe.
If they kill Robin, if they kill Uma Thurman, Ethan Hawke's daughter, just because, nah, it would be a throwaway.
No, I think Robin's safe.
Yeah, I think she good. They can't introduce an LGBTQ character and then kill him.
Yeah, because that's
Right,
the whole
not during Pride Month, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
So she's safe.
We still got the second half of this season, y'all. I mean, someone can still get it, and some folk there have been rumors about Will, and I'm just like, damn.
So this is a weird thing. I was gonna try to. I don't know if I had the picture on me. So somebody posted something on Twitter just recently, and basically when, what is his name? When Victor was talking about his son, he was saying that he is a sensitive child, right? He said he's like a sensitive child. The weird thing is it parallels when Joyce was talking about Will and saying he's a sensitive child. So somebody theorized, is there a connection with Will? Was there a reason why Will was targeted? Was there a reason why Will was possessed? Was there a reason why even in season 3, the mind flare was still connected to Will? And so I was like, it would be fascinating if, Will actually does have abilities in some way, shape, or form. We just never know. We never knew.
And there are a couple continuity things that I've recognized that I'm still a little bit confused on, because they set it up like this thing like, oh, Vecna's the only one that can open gates, right? But
well, no, 11 can. 11
okay, yeah, Vecna or 11. But in season 1, I mean, that Demogorgon was coming through walls. He was opening portals in trees. And so I was just a little bit confused by that. Or are they saying that this entire time that's just always been Vecna?
I don't think it's always been Vecna, because you remember when in season 2, when the mind flare was like tracking Will, it was almost implied that it was using like certain animals and stuff like that to kind of get through. So it's possible. I really don't know, because they're not giving all the cards away, but the actual real entity is using Vecna as, I think that the way that Dustin referred to it is like him as a lieutenant. Like he's working with his abilities to get everything through. But we still don't know what the end game is. We just know that the mind flayer, or whatever the entity is trying to get in the normal world. That's always been the plan. It's just these kids keep getting in the darn way, and now it's vindictive at this point.
But yeah, I think they are going to have to kill someone, though, because the thing is, these kids still out here naming the characters after D&D. Like, it's almost still a game. It's almost still a game to them. And like, I think they're going to have to see somebody get washed before they're like, oh, I think I want to go to college. Like, I think like something's going to have to happen. And it's like you said, it's going to suck. It's going to suck because honestly, I've grown attached to almost all of these characters, all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the stakes are too high at this point for everybody to just make it out.
Yeah, I think that there was a picture. Let me see if I can pull it out real quick. This picture right here with 11 in the situation that she was in, right? And it was weird because I love that Millie was able to kind of, the way that she described it in the behind the scenes, she shot all the actual scenes of her as the little girl. And then she also did her scenes directly as well. But when you take into perspective, like 11 was witnessing all this going on, right? As a little kid, and this grown man is up in front of her, like torturing her, basically. Like, it's like, it puts into perspective that anybody can take a L. To me, the moment that the first episode came up and you seeing all these kids, like their arms ripped to the side and just dead, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, the Duffer Brothers are leaving us a breadcrumb that this is leading to somebody's not going to make it, or multiple people are not going to make it moving forward. Because it's like, if this is the going into the fifth season is it. There's a reason why there's only 2 episodes left in volume 2. There's no, it doesn't make any sense why it wouldn't be. So.
Oh wait, volume 2 is only 2 episodes?
Yeah, the last episode, which is episode 9, is 2 hours and roughly 2 hours and 30 minutes, something like that. And in episode 8, I think it's like an hour and some change. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. I might have to take
and,
back what I said earlier about those split up seasons. Okay. Never mind.
yeah. So they're about to end it on a bang. It almost is like they're making a movie, basically. Um. So yeah, but I brought up this image for a reason, that this is the show. Like, okay, this is the real stakes here, and this is what's about to go down. Because if this is happening when she's this young, and these kids are now they're at the age that Steve and all the rest of the crew were around that same time, the first season. So I don't know, man. I really do feel like it's coming, unfortunately.
And one thing that I want to know too, because I was trying to figure this out, is how much time passed between when she sent Warren to the Upside Down and when season 1 starts. Because one of the things I noticed is in all of this backstory we've gotten with 11 this season, she actually talks a good amount.
Yeah.
Right? Like she talks a good amount, but in season 1 of Stranger Things, it's like she doesn't say a word. It's almost like you don't even know if she can speak English. Like you don't know what's going on with her. And so I'm wondering if this was the traumatic event that happened that just makes her no longer speak, or how, because that was the biggest thing I wanted to know. How much time has passed between the end of episode 7 and the beginning of season 1 as far as 11's story goes?
Yeah, I believe it was 1979 when this moment took place, and 1983 was when season 1 started, I believe. But that's the way that I internalized it, is that because he had even said it, he was like, this is the moment that changed and crippled you, essentially. And it would make sense that because she didn't remember any of this, like going into it, she couldn't recall it, she couldn't remember it. And even when I had to go back and harper to episode, with like not episode 8, but the number 8, the one that got away, like she kind of alluded that, what about the other kids? And 11 was like, what do you mean? I remember you. Like, I don't care about other, like, so I think that she pushed all this out, including like her, I guess, whatever she learned during that time. So I guess the way that when he started actually just working with her, he was like really either one, scared of her and thinking she did all that, or two, he knew exactly what happened. He was like, well, I need to shelter her and hone the anger or whatever she's got in the past. But I don't know. They don't make it really explicit, but that's the way that I looked at it.
So the reason I asked that, though, I had one more question, because she sent Vecna to the Upside Down, and so she had to open a gate. And so I'm guessing that gate closed right back up. And if so, what's the deal with the gate from season 1 that she mistakenly opened? Right? Like, what's the difference? Why did that one seemingly close and that one just stayed open? Like, I'm a little bit confused as far as continuity goes, and what the rules are there.
So going back to episode, I don't remember what episode it was, but season 1, when she opened the gate initially, remember he put her in the tank, and she was trying to reach somebody somewhere else. I think it was the Soviets. I think she was trying to reach out to the Soviets.
Yeah.
And she pushed a little bit too far, and the Demogorgon or whatever the entity was saw her. She panicked and freaked out. And it was kind of like a ripple effect. So I think her ability alone was magnified in the tank. Does that make sense? So the whole point of the tank was to push her. She opened the portal in this as a little kid, put Vecna in there just on her own strength. But with the tank, she was completely out of control. She had never, in her mind, she had never done that before. And so it was like a ripple effect. And so with the power, it made an immediate bridge that she couldn't even close. And she didn't even know she even really did it. So that's the way I looked at it, the tank.
And there's another aspect of that we didn't really know before this, is that the portal is not even just spatially, it's across time, right? So we have space and time. And they brought that up intentionally. So I wonder if they're going to play with that a little bit. Like, I hope they do play with it a little bit to mention that. And so technically, right now, they're back where things started in season 1 in a way, right?
True.
If the timelines like line up. So can they affect what's happened in those other? You know what I mean? Can they affect what's been going on?
Yeah, I thought about the
time?
same thing. I thought about the same thing, Ant, because you find out when they're in the upside down that the upside down's time is the night that like
She opened
Nancy was with Steve. Like it,
Right.
yeah, it's way back in the timeline stuck in season 1 for the upside down. And so that's a really good point, and I'm really interested in seeing what they do with that.
And it just makes you wonder if that's part of Vecna's goal. Like, is he effing up time in the upside down to the point that he needs to in order to change so that 1 didn't or 11 didn't defeat him? I'm telling, if
they find a way to bring Barb back and she alive, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I'm like, man,
that would be full circle for sure. Like, they've done a lot of parallels this season as far as like circling back, like, because with Elle, she got bullied back in the past, and then she's getting bullied again in the present, and so there's a little parallel to that. There's parallels, I guess, to the game that they've been playing, and just Vecna in general. Like, there's just a lot of parallels here. And can I get a shout out to Jamie Campbell? I feel like this is one of the few roles that I actually like him in. I don't know why. Like, he didn't really do much in Twilight, but then he was like in this show on Stars called Author, and I'm just like, no. But this role was actually good for him, so kudos to him.
Yeah, no.
I don't know who that is. Who does he play in this show?
Eddie.
Eddie,
first off, is one of my favorite characters in this show.
I didn't know he was in Twilight. I never watched the movies.
Me neither. So I learned something new.
I'm like, oh,
Twilight?
No, this isn't Eddie. This is the guy that played 1.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Oh, you said who?
Jamie Campbell. That's his name.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Jamie was in Twilight. He was one of the head vampires, but he didn't really do much.
Oh, he was with the. That's right.
He was with the Vittori.
Right. I forgot about that. Man.
But then he was in another show on Stars, and he played Author. And I'm like, no, you're not Author. Sorry, you're not. You're just not. So that was like a long time ago. I want to say that was like early 2000s, maybe 2010.
Still looks young. So and I liked him in this because it was, even though you knew it was coming, we kind of figured out when we were talking about the other episodes where we thought this was going. But it was a slow rollout to like him betraying Elle and then wanting her to join her. These are tropes you've seen before, but it was really well done, right? And I wonder if Elle is the anti him. Like, since Elle was able to stand up to him even a little bit, I wonder if that's why they pushed Elle so hard, because he's still out there. We don't know what happened to him, right? So we have this super powerful telekinetic psychic clairvoyant out there, and the only person that was there standing up to him was Elle.
Right. And so that's why what's his face, or the scientist, or Paul Reiser's character, was like, there's an evil and we need to stop him. Elle's the only one that can stop him. And I think that's because they know that she managed to defeat him before.
Yeah. It's just,
and I don't know. It's go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say that the way that they plotted his character out, it was like he had a psychological imbalance from the beginning. Like, just hearing the story, I love the transition too. Like, I love like him revealing himself to Elle and also revealing himself to Nancy simultaneously.
Very well done.
Because that sometimes that doesn't work very well. Because honestly, like, up until the moment that she let him free, quote unquote, by taking the pin out, I was kind of like, I believed him. I was like, he really is trying to get her out. He may have ulterior motives, but I think he legitimately wants her out. It was almost like a Kylo Ren and I know you don't want to hear this. A Kylo Ren and a race situation.
We ain't talking Star Wars right now. Nope. We ain't talking Star Wars right now. I don't want to talk about that. Fan base don't deserve nothing right now. So we gonna keep talking about Stranger Things.
Come on. The
fan base.
Come on
all right.
now.
All right.
Come on, let it go. Let it go. I recount what I just said. All
I ain't
I'm
letting
saying,
nothing go. This ain't Frozen.
all I'm saying.
We're not letting
It
it
is
go.
all fan base's problem that
Wait,
right.
no, let it go. Let it go. Seriously. So, only reason I bring that up is because I feel like he legit feels as though she, one, is on his level, and two, is misunderstood like him. And I think he legit wanted her to get out, but I don't know if he thought that she was gonna help him to get out as well.
Right.
But the moment that she did, it was kind of like, oh, the chains are off. Hey, I'm about to kill everybody.
Right. No, he definitely wanted her out. I think he definitely was shocked when she wasn't on his side after all of that. But
Yeah,
he was, because
crazy.
that's the thing. He didn't want her to even see that side of him. That's why he was like, I want you to stay in this room and I don't want you to leave, because he knew he was about to clean house.
Yeah.
And he didn't want her to see that.
Yeah, he didn't.
It just sucks because it's kind of like you saw something in Elle, but you didn't see anything else in even the little kids. It just seems like a total. It's like I understood somewhat like with the older kids, because it's kind of like they're lost. But the younger kids, it didn't make sense to me. But maybe it's because he's psycho.
Well,
I mean,
I could guess from his perspective that Elle was also outcast like he was.
Right. Exactly.
Elle was treated like a freak like he was. So Elle was also an other among others like he was. So maybe, because I mean, little kids, it's really hard to not love a little kid. You know what I mean? Like, so they got the love he didn't get, right? And also Elle's somebody who presents as naive enough to believe what the story that he gives her, so he can mold her in a way. That would be my guess. That would be my guess. I think you're saying it's really right, but that would be my guess for it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
I mean, it was still messed up, but I get what you're saying. It was still just messed up. Like, dang, not the little kids, not the little kids.
Yeah, I think the thing with the little kids that all they really wanted is, I'm not to say that they're willing to conform, but they were like, look, I just want to please Papa. That's all I care about. And Elle was kind of very different from that. Like, it was like, it's not necessarily about pleasing Papa. To me, it's more so a little bit like, what am I doing here? What do I have to do to make it and survive kind of situation?
Yeah.
And
I think
Elle
was
was
connected with.
And Elle had a rage. We've seen that Elle has a rage inside her too, that maybe he thought he could cultivate to be more like him, right?
Oh,
so good. And as we've seen in Star Wars recently, F them kids. Darth Vader snapping kids' necks. Like Strange, the two most watched shows had kids getting killed by the left and right.
Okay, I haven't seen Obi-Wan yet, but I also know that he killed kids in the third movie. So
yeah.
I haven't watched Obi-Wan yet, but I have watched Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna say this.
Why are we still paralleling Star Wars? We keep on making references.
I mean, look, to be fair, hold on, I'm gonna do this.
Because the message of the day was F them kids.
How can you not reference Star Wars? Look at this shot. Look at this. How can you not? But I'm gonna say this, Keaton, for real. Me and my wife, we literally just watched episode 1 to 3, and she's in love. Like, by the episode 3, she was like, "Oh, I got to see every single episode after this." So,
I'm gonna watch it. Don't get it twisted. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I got some sodium chloride right now with that Star Wars fan base and how they've been acting, but I'm gonna watch it.
I'm gonna be. I mean, all right.
We starting to get off topic, but anyway, but I'm gonna watch it too, but I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's weird, man. The little kid was so gifted and stuff like that, but he was just off, man. His whole perspective on how the world even worked, like, was just off. Like, it was kind of like, I was like, what did your parents really do? What are you seeing? And he picked off different memories from them and picked off the things that he didn't like from them. And like, he allowed that to justify some of the things that he was doing. Because that whole scene with the dad and what he made his dad see and do, like, I was like, this kid is messed up.
Dark,
yeah, and he went after the mom because the mom
figured it out.
What the heck he was doing? But it's kind of messed up because it just seems like he hasn't grasped that people aren't perfect. They they do have trauma. Some people unfortunately suffer through trauma, and it's not just black and white. So it's kind of like his mindset is still black and white, and there's like no gray area. And it's the black and white version of what a child would think of what, right and wrong is versus an adult. So
But
it's not like he never outgrew that, and it kind of like got worse. And it didn't help that he got experimented on. So that didn't help matters as far as his distrust as far as people goes anyway.
And this was my question. This was my question too, Nat. Like so outside of Vecna's family members, everybody else he's killed has been children.
That's why he's been targeting teens.
Right. Everybody he's been targeting has been teenagers. He hasn't, and it can't be just like a guilt thing because it's a whole lot of adults in Hawkins with plenty of guilt, right? So it's not just that. He's been specifically targeting teenagers.
Well, typically children most likely internalize things easier, right? So parents get divorced. It's my fault. What was I not good enough to keep my parents together? Things like that. So that could be a thing. Or it could just be his angst that he was robbed of his childhood from his perspective. Like it could be.
I'm interested in seeing why. Yeah.
I want to be careful that we don't blame parents, right? Because sometimes children have imbalances. They have different things or needs that parents aren't really capable of like addressing or even seeing what the challenge is. He seemed to present very well in the backstory. So I mean, it can happen to anybody. So I make sure that people aren't ashamed to get help if they do know something in their children. It's not just you're a terrible parent because your child is having these challenges. The thing is getting those kids the help they need as soon as possible.
And that's a good point too, Ant. What you said about like a terrible parent, because now out of all the terrible parents on this show, they brought Brenner back. And I'm like, what is this dude doing? I could not believe y'all brought this guy back, and he's not public enemy number one right now. Because
and it's funny you should say that, because I think the mom was trying to give the son or get help from Dr. Brenner, but Dr. Brenner had ulterior motives.
Definitely.
And so that didn't help matter. So I think that perpetuated, at least in one's thinking as a child, that his parents aren't for him. You know what I'm saying? Like that perpetuated that. So that exasperated probably what happened.
Yeah, and for a large part of our history,
like she tried, her intentions were good, but unfortunately, because who she was trying to get help from didn't have good intentions, it just effed things up.
And for a large portion of, unfortunately, for a large portion of our country's history, mental institutions have not been a place of actual healing and learning. Hope. It's been torture chambers for a lot of it. And and I want to say, I'm just weird. I'll tell you a story outside of this cast, but it came up today about how some things are even going on up until the 80s that were horror stories for a lot of people. And if you're a parent and you don't know what to do to help your child, but your instinct is to help them, and we are very based in like, you got a lab coat and a degree, you must know what's best for this than I do. So can you help? You know what I mean? And that's always been the case, that you can find that help.
Yeah.
Or find the proper help there. That might have been a little bit of a tangent. Sorry.
No. I think it's good because
No. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, he was starting to kill animals. That's always a bad sign when your kids start killing animals. So again, it just escalated from there with what he feels like people should do and the right and wrongness of it. And because he was already imbalanced, everything was just a hot mess. And with powers, that didn't help matters either. So we got this creature now because he got amped up in the Upside Down.
And he was a ginger. Apparently, gingers become serial killers. That's like from the mold of Dexter. Seriously, my ginger brother and sisters, I'm sorry, y'all got such a bad rap.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm sure y'all love me.
We got some interesting takes tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And with the different people that he's kind of targeting, I think he's looking for people that are vulnerable. I mean, I think it starts easy. You experiment and pick apart animals because they're vulnerable, right? And so if you start from that point, then the next step would be like, the youth or kids or people that are dealing with trauma. So every single one of these different kids that he's killed, like, it's not even about killing them for the sake of killing them. It's like, oh, I need their bodies to allow a portal to come through, but it also gives me more power the more that I'm sucking people's life away from them. Because I think that they brought that up in this when he was talking to Nancy, is that he found that he could probe people's minds, probe their minds, and get stronger. The more he started to do it, the stronger he got. He just didn't realize that he had a limitation to it, that after too many times he couldn't do it, which is a weakness. But this is the weird thing I was going to ask y'all about. The fact that he gave all this information to Nancy, right? Why? Why give or divulge all this information? I don't think that he would give or divulge all this information and not kill this woman. That's right. She's way too valuable. And the weird thing about it is not only is she valuable because she knows his history and his story. Of course, Levin knows it, or little some of it now, but between Eleven and Nancy, they know everything. And so it's like, if she knows all of that, wouldn't he kill her? And the weird thing is that at this point, Max, she's got her headphones on. She keeps her headphones on at all times. Nancy don't have any headphones unless it's somewhere in the house. But even then, it's like you have to figure out what her favorite song is. Like, how does Nancy survive coming out of this situation?
I think she's gonna have some plot armor, and it's gonna be some kind of power of love thing between her and Steve. I think it'll be plot.
That's gonna be kind of effed up though. Like, but they have to have the information some way. They have to connect the dots, and because he revealed all that, it's kind of like how they do it in shows where they like the villain reveals his plan and he shouldn't have. Like, he ran his mouth too much.
Caught you monologuing.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
The monologue. And then it's like, okay, well, all right, then we know how to defeat you now. Let's do this. And then you just like, then he wonders why he got defeated. But I'm just wondering if they're going to do that same route, but it's not going to be as believable because it's kind of like, well, dang.
One of the things I've been noticing, I've been wondering if they're using this also another trope, is like, maybe he had to cultivate the guilt or the depression or he had to cultivate it. That's why he's telling them like, oh, you let so-and-so happen and you let so-and-so happen. And I wonder if he was doing that with certain, because we also saw him look like he was sifting through different people's memories at one point.
Yeah.
And so maybe he was, so maybe the more powerful the guilt or powerful the trauma, the more permanent the gate is. Or maybe the less he needs to charge up to do a gate or something like that. I don't know. I'm just
no. And another thing that he said too, when Nancy slipped through, he mentioned Barb, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I never forget one of my own or one of my victims or something like that." And so I'm like, "Wait, did Vecna kill Barb?"
I never forget the people I kill. I mean, I took that as that was a shot at Nancy. It's like, how dare you not remember the person that you technically had killed? That's the way I took it.
I was thinking of it in a different way. Like, I was thinking of it like, oh, was he pulling these strings all along?
So I could be wrong, but I'm really thinking to what Dustin's theory is that the Mind Flayer, or whatever the entity is that's there, which doesn't have a defined name necessarily, is using Vecna as a lieutenant. And so I think that he's been doing a lot, but I don't think that he's pulling all the strings necessarily, because I don't see any Demogorgons around him, nor do I see like the Mind Flayer necessarily in that same location. It's really weird because I don't know what the end game is, but I do think that they're kind of using him like a lieutenant or a general at this point. But it's gonna be interesting to see, because he definitely he could have really broke her. She got out of the pool, and I was like, okay, he could really start to use other things to try to break her. But instead, he starts to go into his history, and that starts to scare her. But it's not going to make her compromise. So I was trying to figure out why he was doing it.
So, okay, so it makes you wonder, like, because we haven't seen like anything of the Mind Flare at all this season. It's been focused on Vecna.
Mhm.
So is he low-key working against or just have his own agenda so much that he's just ignoring whatever the Mind Flayer's agenda is?
I don't think so. Only reason why I say that is because every person that he kills opens a gate. The more gates that are open, the more whatever he wants to get through can get through.
Yeah, but he's
Ultimately.
also effing up time too. So that's where I'm.
I think he just wants out. I really think he just wants. I think that he can, because from what I can tell, he can influence people,
Mhm.
but he can't go through the gate himself.
Right.
And I think he wants out. And I think the only way for him to get out is if 11 does something to get him out of there. Like, I think she sent him in, and she might be the only one that can get him out, because truly she might be more powerful than he is.
So he got sucked in there, and then he had to adapt to live there.
Right.
And so maybe he had to be subservient to whatever powers, or learn how to adapt to the environment and become part of the ecosystem. But he's still trying to get out, and maybe this is a way to drawing 11 back in, to open up another portal, let him out. Maybe he saw what happened last season, and he's trying to draw her back. I mean, I think that's a great possibility.
It could be a win-win. I think honestly the most sense to me, and I'm not going to bring up Star Wars at all, is that it aligns with what he wants. He wants out, but also the Mind Flayer wants out. It works both ways. Like, it's kind of like no matter what, he gets what he wants, and the Mind Flayer gets one. He's like, shoot, screw everybody on the outside. Like, because this also plays into what he said.